What does your phone and your chair have in common? The answer is
China.
China, the world's factory. No matter where you look, everything from TVs, toys, electric cars, and even semiconductor chips were probably made in China. But what if I told you the made in China cheap goods era may end soon? What if I told you that for years, China's economy has been losing steam and foreign companies are rapidly pulling out? We're not talking about small businesses like OceanGate. We're talking about major global brands like Apple, Nike, and Intel. Many of these companies are moving their factories out of China. Apple now produces its latest line of iPhone 17s exclusively in India. By next year, all US sold iPhones will also be produced in India. Nike, Puma, and Adidas have shifted to countries like Vietnam and Bangladesh. And technology giants like Intel and Nvidia are ramping up their investment in the USA. But why? Why are these companies leaving China? How will the Global Shift 2.0 affect China and the global economy? Is this the end of globalization, or is it re-globalization? Today we will answer these questions and more. Before we get started, leave a like, subscribe, and hit the bell so you never miss the latest updates on the world economy. To understand why companies are leaving, we first need to understand why they came to China in the first place. What made China so appealing? Let's rewind. In the early years of the People's Republic of China, business was tough. Its leaders were hardline communists who preferred self-reliance and state-owned enterprise. Private property and foreign capital were seen as tools of exploitation by capitalist pigs. Back then, no sane businessman would have chosen China to expand their business. But everything changed in 1978 when the open door policy was brought in. The economy went from the old communist model to the new export-led model. For the first time, laws were made encouraging foreign investment. New special economic zones were created, offering lower taxes, less red tape and regulation, better infrastructure, and most importantly, cheap labor, tons of cheap labor. Joint ventures between Chinese and foreign firms were encouraged. Trade barriers and foreign exchange controls were reduced. Foreign firms brought advanced technology and expertise, helping modernize Chinese industries. Did it work? Absolutely. This change sparked the Chinese economic miracle. It didn't just transform China, it transformed the whole world. China became the world's largest exporter and manufacturing hub. From 1978 to 2010, China's economic growth was around 9 to 10% per year. Hundreds of millions of people were lifted out of poverty. Cities and industries expanded rapidly. Infrastructure like roads, railways, airports, and ports were built at an unprecedented scale. But if China was the business paradise, why are major companies suddenly packing up and leaving? Let's get real. Now, companies can whitewash or greenwash all they like, but at the end of the day, they only care about one thing: profit. The main reason why these corporate giants are leaving China simply boils down to labor costs. These companies entered China for its cheap labor, but cheap labor is always temporary. As China's economy boomed, all those workers eventually climbed the social ladder and began demanding better wages and working conditions. Wages in China have skyrocketed since the early 2000s. GDP per capita has grown from around $1,000 in 2001 to $13,000 in 2024. So why keep manufacturing in China when countries like Vietnam and Bangladesh offer much cheaper labor costs? On the flip side, China is now an industrial powerhouse. It no longer made sense to keep subsidizing foreign companies when it could protect and promote its own crown jewels, like Tencent, Alibaba, or BYD. So tax breaks for foreign firms? Gone. China is playing 4D chess by doubling down on its own homegrown champions, reshaping the global market, and challenging international competitors like never before. Since Xi Jinping took power in 2013, China's political game has changed. Big time. Xi's vision? Cement China's status as a global superpower by increasing self-reliance and common prosperity for all Chinese people. No more leaning on foreigners. His mission is clear. Dominate the high-tech strategic sectors like AI, semiconductors, renewable energies, robotics, and high-speed rail on the global stage. Xi isn't interested in China being the world's factory for low-quality cheap products anymore. He wants to move China up the supply chain, focusing on high-quality, high-value goods that can dominate the global market. It's about upgrading from quantity to quality and becoming a true global tech and manufacturing superpower. This shift is changing everything for China and for the foreign companies still trying to do business there. Here's the kicker. Xi has tightened the Communist Party's grip over the economy, increasing government control above private businesses. That means massive crackdowns on big tech, finance and education. State-owned enterprises are making a comeback, becoming central pillars of China's economy. This isn't just politics. It's a seismic shift reshaping how business works in China. Many Chinese firms, especially those backed by the government, don't even care about profit right now. They're locked in on R&D and crushing their competition by grabbing market share at any cost. The Chinese market has become a battlefield of brutal price wars and fierce innovation from homegrown giants. Foreign companies, they're struggling to compete not just in China, but even in their own backyards. The global political game has also shifted, and free trade is under attack. Trump and his thugs see China as a major threat, and they're not holding back. Tariffs, sanctions, bans, Trump's trade wars have made doing business with China more expensive and riskier than ever. He publicly pressured giants like Apple to pull manufacturing out of China and build supply chains elsewhere. So what's the result? Thanks to cheaper labor and mounting political pressure, foreign firms are ditching China. Neighboring countries like Vietnam and Malaysia have cashed in. They are now the newest hotspots for manufacturing. It's like finding oil under your house. Check this out. Vietnam's labor costs are over 50% cheaper than China, with wages just $200 to $350 a month. US import tariffs from China can hit 55%, but Vietnam's are only around 20%, a game changer for global companies. Vietnam's electronics exports smashed $126 billion in 2024, employing 1.5 million people in the sector alone. Despite all the drama, China is still a global powerhouse, and it's not going anywhere anytime soon. Many foreign companies aren't abandoning China completely. Instead, they're rebalancing their exposure, trying to cut costs without losing access to this massive market. Remember, China has over 1.4 billion people, one of the largest consumer markets on the planet. That kind of scale, you can't ignore it. Plus, China's supply chains are a finely tuned machine. Raw materials, manufacturing, assembly, and logistics, all woven together after decades of building. Trying to replace that, it's complicated, expensive, and slow. Moving out means losing efficiency, and that hits the bottom line hard. Also, China controls critical resources like rare earth metals, essential for everything from magnets to aircraft engines and even nuclear reactors. According to the International Energy Agency, China accounts for about 61% of rare earth production and a whopping 92% of processing worldwide. Even companies wanting to decouple from China may find they have no choice. So this isn't a quick breakup. It's a slow, painful and complicated dance that will reshape global business for years to come. So where does this leave us? China is no longer just the world's factory for cheap goods. It's a complex, powerful force, reshaping the future of technology, manufacturing, and global trade. Yes, many companies are moving factories out, chasing cheaper labor and safer political ground. But China's massive consumer market, deep supply chain networks, and control over critical resources mean it remains absolutely central to the global economy. This isn't a story of abandonment. It's a high-stakes strategic balancing act. Foreign firms aren't fleeing, they're recalibrating, finding new partners and hubs like Vietnam while still keeping a foot firmly planted in China. Meanwhile, China is doubling down on innovation and self-reliance, pushing hard into high-tech industries that will define the future. The global supply chain is being rewired right before our eyes, and the economic landscape of the next decades will look very different from what we've known. This is the era of re-globalization, not de-globalization. Thank you very much for watching this video. Make sure to like, subscribe and hit the notification bell so you never miss an update. Take care and see you soon.